As I said, we keep legislating things that are the symptoms and not the actual core root of an issue. Why are we trying to regulate gambling rather than actually dealing with the root cause?
Well, let's move on swiftly to another story that I had prepared for you and I really found interesting. This is about matters gambling. I'm passionate about matters gambling because I believe that this is one of the ills that has pulled back our society. Gambling is so bad that gambling as an addiction, being a behavioral psychologist, I've come to realize that with different forms of addiction like smoking, drinking, you might feel that, oh, this guy actually smells like alcohol. You can tell, oh, he's overindulging. I met him, ameanguka kwa mtaro. He was too drunk. He smells of alcohol. So you can tell that there's an abuse of a substance. If someone is smoking and they're smoking too much, you can really tell even from the smell. You can tell, oh, wow, this guy, bana, you're misusing drugs. Mbona unatumia madre vibaya? When it comes to gambling, when it becomes an addiction, you can't really tell whether this person is suffering from a gambling addiction. You might tell from their finances, they are always begging money, always late on their payments, late on paying their bills and stuff like that. But you cannot really tell from the look. They seem okay, but they're not okay. One student back when I was in campus, I think that's around 2015 or 2016, I really tried to research about this story because we were in KU. So a student had around 80,000 and it was during a time like this when we are having football against countries, the European League, UEFA something. So it was a game of France versus Italy, if I'm not wrong. So it was a really complicated game. It's the semi-final. And the odds looked like, being a difficult game, the odds were 2.8 and the other team was given, I think, 2.7 win. So ukiekelea kichwa France, maybe I guess it was 2.8. The odds were 2.8. And if umekelea Italy, give it around 2.7 or 2.6. So this guy was from Western Kenya. Actually, I remember it hit the headlines. I've really tried to research about this thing online to try and get the nitty-gritty details. I didn't. But however, I remember the story. So this student had 80,000 shillings meant for his school fees. However, he thought, this game is a difficult one. France versus Italy. Any of them can win. So I'll place a bet. I'll place two bets. One, I'll stake on France to win. And then I'll also put my money on Italy to win. I'll just put the 80,000, 40,000 on France and another 40,000 on Italy. Because either way, whichever team wins, you'll make money because if you do the math, where it's 40,000 or 40,000 times 2.7, let's say 2.7, what do you get? 108,000. How about if it's 2.9 odds and you've won, Italy win, and they were given the odds of 2.9? So how much would he make? A whooping 116,000. So either way, whichever team wins, he would have his money back for school fees and a little profit on it. Oh, lo and behold, game ilitoka draw. The guy committed suicide. Listen to this. According to the Star, I think the article was dated back in April or May. According to the Star, Kenya spends 776 billion on gambling per annum, 2.1 million per day. And actually the average gambler spends 1,800 shillings per month on gambling. Most of them lose, So because it's a very big problem, it's a cancer in our society, the president ascended in the Gambling Control Act. And what are we looking at this Gambling Control Act? What does it look to achieve? It looks to get 15% tax for bookies. It establishes a gambling regulatory authority. It includes measures like self-exclusion, where if you feel that you're losing a lot, you can actually exclude yourself from betting for some while. Unasema, hey, muindi amenikula sana. I don't want to gamble for like a week. And actually, the Gambling Regulatory Authority will be mandated with trying to observe the socio-economic patterns and come up with further recommendations for controlling gambling. Well, this might seem like a progress with regulating the evil of gambling and betting that is actually ailing our society. But for me, I'm not in support of this because I feel we were treating the dandruff and not the cancer. You can imagine you're suffering from cancer stage 3 or stage 4. But then you go to the hospital and then the doctor looks at you and says, oh, you have cancer, I believe. Instead of curing the cancer first, how about we look into the dandruff? Because, I mean, the dandruff is serious. It's checking into your skin. Doesn't make you look so good. So let's not deal with the cancer first. Let's handle the dandruff. This analogy was given by Krugenzi Abel Mutu. I can't remember which story exactly, but it's something that I really liked. However, during the debate of this bill, some 2 weeks ago, there were 2 vocal parliamentarians, actually senators, Crystal Asige and Okia Umtata. They were against the bill. But why were they against the bill? What is it that they were saying they don't like about this bill? And what are the things that they said are against betting? I would like us to analyze this speech, listen to what Crystal Asige had to say, and then we'll also hear what Senator Okia Umtata had to say. Let's listen in.
These issues, the vices themselves, then we will never be able to control gambling. That is my fear, Speaker. And recently, in the last few months in this House, as I said, we keep legislating things that are the symptoms and not the actual core root of an issue. Recently, Speaker, we were trying to legislate around fundraising in churches and the like. And there are members in this House who actually said and opposed that bill because they said, how can you tax or try to regulate fundraising without looking at the reason why Kenyans feel like fundraising is their only hope to get through their problems? When somebody fundraises for a sick relative, we must not regulate the fundraising. We must ask, why does this person feel like the health system has failed them? When somebody is trying to fundraise, for example, for education or taking someone to university, you must not regulate that, but you must ask, why is this person feeling that the education system has failed them, and that's why they have to look into their family and friends and community to raise funds for education? Same principle for me, Speaker, lies here. Why are we trying to regulate gambling and try to put heavy restrictions or legislation on top of this issue, rather than actually dealing with the root cause of why people are privy or prey or run prey to gambling, which is the things that I've mentioned before? I think those are the issues that we need to really sit and think about, not just as legislators, but as thinkers, Mr. Speaker, because that's why we are here. We are apparently the most brilliant minds in the country, and that's why we have been put here to represent our people. And if we cannot sit and think about the root cause of our issues as a country, rather than always treating the symptoms and slapping a piece of legislation on top of it, then we will never, ever control anything. Nonetheless, gambling is my opinion, Speaker. And even if we go ahead
Senator Mungatana Cherargei and AD, please consult in low tones so that we can hear Senator Crystal. Proceed.
Thank you for protecting me from the members who are consulting. This is a very emotive subject, and I'm sure that they are busy discussing my submission as I speak. Thank you very much, Speaker. I want to just underscore and re-emphasize that we need to think about the root cause, curing that, or preventing the root cause, rather than thinking about how to cure it with a piece of paper and regulations. Speaker, even as a creative, let me speak from the perspective of a creative. We recently, in the last financial bill of last year that was thwarted by protests across the country, Speaker, there was a provision or a proposal to start taxing creatives, the creative industry. And creatives came out in large numbers to say, how can you tax us or regulate us when you haven't created an environment for us to even thrive in the first place? What are you going to tax out of us? Creatives said. And Speaker, that same idea, I will take it not literally, but there are similarities from that to this, which is, why would you want to tax a base of people who clearly are showing symptoms of issues that we have not solved as society? Rather than solving them, we are punishing them for being unemployed, for being addicted to alcohol or drugs or pornography, whatever the case might be, when we haven't actually sat down as thinkers and the most brilliant minds in the country and looked at the research and actually engaged with evidence-based legislation to then realize that, hey, this may not be the actual, or it may not be a sustainable solution to just write a piece of legislation. We need to actually go down to the base, to the core, to the bottom line, which is, why are our people feeling the need to continue to gamble their lives, their assets, their dreams, their possessions away, instead of looking for earnest work, looking to cure their mental illness, looking to address their addictions, looking to stop watching pornography. Mr. Speaker, for me, that is something that is poignant, and I had laid it out very clearly when we looked into this bill in the Labour Committee. It's still the case now, even though there's mediated version, which has not really addressed that same question, which is maybe philosophical, but still has to be answered by somebody. And I would have hoped that this mediated version or this committee would have addressed those kinds of issues rather than slapping us with yet another piece of legislation which may never, ever solve our problem and never bring any kind of control to gambling. I thank you.
Wow, brains at work. I'm proud of Senator Crystal Asige. She might not see physically, but she sees everything, especially at the policy level. She's able to express herself. And like, you remember we were talking about women in leadership, and I asked, how did we fall from grace to grass? How did we fall from the likes of Phoebe Asir to the likes of Karen, the likes of, I don't want to mention names, but if you are watching by now, you all know, you can compare and contrast. Well, Crystal is trying to ask that we use evidence-based practice, empirical evidence, we use science to actually control gambling. Why is it that people gamble? Personally, I have gambled before. I've lost a lot of money. I actually quit because I'm not a very big fan of losing money. Even if it's 20 bob and I have like 100,000 in my M-Pesa and I just lose 20 shillings, oh my. Literally that lady who swept the whole house looking for that one coin. Out of the lady who had 10 coins and then she had to sweep the whole house to get that one coin that was lost. I'm literally that kind of a person because I don't like losing. Well, I once fell for this get rich quick gimmick, didn't have something to do, and actually thought that betting, that was my stupid me, young and stupid, thought that betting was actually an avenue to make money. Little did I know that I was just falling victim. And I wish I knew. Not like I wish I knew, but these are lessons that you learn. During the day, you think that, oh, it's a get-rich-quick scheme. You are going to bet. You are so sure that Arsenal will beat Man U. Of course, this coming, the Premier League is coming up. And who thinks that Manchester United will beat Arsenal? Who can ever fathom of that? So of course, you can stake the whole life on Arsenal. And then fast forward to a few days, it comes out as a draw, or even they lose, because you can't predict, can you? Then it's not even about sports betting alone. We've seen the dangers that Aviator has led us to. We've seen this gambling being advertised during prime time. We've witnessed that. And you wonder, where are we headed as society if we are going to present gambling as an opportunity and always showing that, oh, people are doing good, such kind of stuff? Well, let's hear in what Senator Omtata had to say further about this Gambling Act.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Andrew Omtata.
I'll be very brief and presidential.
He says he'll be brief and presidential. I actually hope that a Maraga or an Omtata might be our next president, because this is the kind of sane leadership that we are looking forward to having at the helm of the country's most crucial, important position of leadership. Let's listen in further. I like the joke that he put it. Sounding presidential, right? Let's see how it goes.
First of all, this is a bad bill. It is tackling a very, very technical area without any scientific study having preceded it. And that is where the problem is. The root cause of gambling is a misconception that it's a shortcut. It is a shortcut to making wealth. There's a shortcut to creating wealth. And in a country like Kenya now, where there is to make a shilling has become very difficult, you can see the way that this thing has mushroomed across. And maybe we may need to withdraw this bill, have a proper study on what is driving this issue, and then come up with scientific solutions. When I look through this bill, I don't see anything that is scientific about it, and I don't see any solution proffered. Yes, there's need for regulation, but by doing what? There's need for education, but by doing what? There's need for so many interventions, but by doing what? So I think, Mr. Speaker, this bill, though a good idea, but it's not being done well. And as a student of St. Thomas Aquinas, yes, my position is that if something is worth doing, it's worth doing well. This bill is badly done, though we need an intervention in the problems facing us with gambling, but this bill is not the solution. Senator Mungatana did not support the bill. He recognized that there was a bill, but I didn't say he did not support it. He recognized that there was a bill. And for me, Mr. Speaker, in the absence of a serious study, we are really groping in the dark, and we are likely to make a bad situation worse, thinking that we are doing something to improve it. So I would say that this bill be withdrawn, and a proper study be conducted by the state. Then, from that study, the state can bring us a bill that can address the issues in the industry. Because you have seen even situations like, if you look at all the adverts on gambling, when you look at all the adverts on gambling, they promise quick wealth. Yes. They don't promise anything else. It's not refreshing your mind, it's not a pastime, but you're going to get rich at the end of the day. As they say, leo hustler, kesho sonko. kind of transformations. So I would pray that this bill be withdrawn, or if it's not withdrawn, we vote it out, and then give that they leave the door open for a better, well-resourced, well-researched, and well-reasoned bill to come before us, one that can then exercise our minds. Really, right now, we are just not well informed to make a decision. And with those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, sir, I personally reject the bill.
Okay. It's unfortunate that I'm speaking about this issue when the bill had already been accepted, actually due to hard work and we also have to look for money. I don't make money from YouTube, so I had myself engaged quite over the past 2 weeks, which is could be the which not could, but which is actually the reason as to why I was not able to create some videos. But at the end of the day, we can try to draw from what Senator is saying. And Omtata argues that we need empirical evidence, we need scientific study to actually understand what is the actual root cause of gambling. One, we've said that money, and actually people believing the fallacy that there is a way that you can get rich quick. I don't know whether you've seen the recent video of SportPesa's newest millionaire in town. What's his name? He's actually called Bonnie Kariuki. So Bonnie Kariuki is the newest millionaire in town. And what do they say? That he woke up in a new Bugatti. And actually, Karaoli called him to congratulate him. We shall be analyzing that calls because there are quite a number of things that I saw that we really need to open our third eye, read in between the lines, see what are the truths, half-truths, and outright lies. We'll try to analyze. But remember the get-rich-quick scheme, that all of a sudden you can just wake up from a hustler to you own the money, and you can try to see the hype. And actually, most Kenyans have not fallen for this because you could see that they are saying it's a marketing gimmick. And actually, SportPesa have been accused to using it as a marketing gimmick. And actually, it was so convenient for the jackpot to be won right now, just before the Premier League starts and all the other European football leagues, just to convince people that, oh, you will make money out of this. Well, I have a big problem when these issues are discussed in parliaments because I remember that Captain Ronald Karaori is a parliamentarian, right? He's the MP for Kasarani. Do you think that any regulation that comes or touches his business direct, he's going to be for it? Let's go to the Senate, where we have this guy by the name Senator Aaron Cheruiyot. A few months ago, there was a serious allegation that Cyprian Nyakundi made that Aaron Cheruiyot has been collecting tax on behalf of KRA from the betting companies. And actually, they charge around 20% for tax collection. You know how you can have an agency and you collect maybe 2% as the commission or something? And actually, this is the interesting part. Even before he started doing this collection on behalf of the KRA were collecting directly. So I don't know how it happened that he's collecting. So we have people within the corridors of parliament, within the corridors of power, who actually have interests in the gambling industry. Do you think those people are going to allow any regulation that is meant to reduce gambling be passed? Remember, I'm a lover of business, and I believe that in business, every person should walk away happy. I don't think betting does that, because in betting, for me to win, the house has to lose. And for the house to make money, I have to lose. So there's never a win-win situation when it comes to gambling. There's never a win-win situation. One has to lose for the other to win. So there will always be a disgruntled member. I remember talking to one of my friends, I won't say his name, was working in a betting company in the accounting section. He would tell me that one day they would wake up, they are less than a million shillings. And after the winnings, they are swimming in money. 200 million. Hiyo siku ni ile unasikianga Man U imeangusha watu au sijui umeangushwa na timu moja. Mwindi anasema kuja. So that's how crazy gambling can be. Remember one thing, they always say that the house always wins. So they always ensure that the house always wins. Number 2, do your math if you are a gambler, and I can challenge you on this. If you are making more than 40%, if you are winning more than 40% of your bet slips, then they'll flag you. You think that they are here to give you money? They are here to make money. And if they see that you are winning, of course, means that you are hurting them bad. They'll lock your account. So when you talk about matter self-exclusion, minimum betting amount, then we've had a regulation where they are saying that the capital, actually with this act that was actually accented recently, they are saying now that the minimum amount that you can use to bet is 50 shillings. The minimum amount that you can use to open a gambling business is, I think, $1 million from 250,000. That's the minimum capital, blah, 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 stuff like that. But do they really solve the gambling problem? I would tell you no. And remember, Mtata was talking about using empirical evidence and to solve the gambling issue. For me, as a behavioral psychologist and a researcher, I actually have a recommendation. Senator Mtata, if you get to hear this, I have this recommendation. This is actually a psychological recommendation that I'm definitely could work. When someone gambles, they receive a message. You've placed a bet of this against this, possible winnings, this. If you win, you'll actually receive a text message that will tell you, hey, congratulations, Anthony, you've won your bet, blah, 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 blah. However, when I lose, these people don't send me a message. So we move to reinforcement, behavioral psychology, positive and negative reinforcement. That message alone that you receive, it's like the M-Pesa message. You hear people telling you that ile message tamu kwa hii dunia ni ya M-Pesa. Na pia hiyo message ya kushinda inakuanga tamu sana. However, these companies are well aware that if we try to inform the marker that, hey, if we try to inform the person who's gambled that, hey, you lost your bet, I'm sorry you lost your bet, try to place again next time, they'll lose hope because they'll be receiving so many of them which they've lost vis-a-vis the ones that they've won. So through behavioral psychology, I believe that if these companies were mandated to actually send all messages, whether you win or lose, you should receive a message to tell you, hey, Anthony, you've lost your bet, try again another day. That will work as a negative reinforcement. So if you are still able to continue and bet again and again and again, then it means, oh, you have such a thick skin. Negative reinforcement will help remove this problem of gambling. That would be my recommendation. I'm a researcher. You guys, Senate, come look at me. Nitawasaidia na hii mambo bana. Gambling it's not rocket science. It's something that we can do because I believe, especially when it comes to addiction, it's a behavior that through negative reinforcement can be shunned, because every time they send that message, it's a form of positive reinforcement. So, Senator Mtata, consider that. But let's dive in and look at this call that Ronald Karaori made to Bonny Karaoke. Let's look at it because actually most Kenyans have dismissed it as a marketing gimmick that failed terribly. Let's listen in. I actually observed quite a number of things that were talked about, and I really wished I had the time to discuss this earlier on, but I saw that nobody saw the things that I saw. So let's listen in to this call, and I'll be giving you my 2 cents about this call because we live in such an interesting country.
Hello?
Hello. Yes.
Hey, Bonny. Vipi?
Poa.
Uko wapi sahi?
Niko kalao niko wapi?
Uko wapi? Unajua nani anakupigia?
Ni
nani?
Karauri.
Ndio huyo sasa.
Wow. So Bonnie Karaoke was well aware that this is Karauri calling him. Well, how did he know? One might argue that alijua aje na amepigiwa tu na Karauri from the random. How did he get to know that it's Karauri who is calling him? Well, most likely, maybe he was following the games. He already knew that he'd won the jackpot. Let's assume it's actually real that alishinda hii jackpot, 434 million. So that's the first assumption, that he won the jackpot. And then we'll be looking at what is the actual probability from a scientifically, what is the actual probability of winning a jackpot? Tutaangalia, just let's analyze the call first. So assuming alikuwa amefuata game zake zote akaona zote 17 ziko inside. So when Karauri is calling, this guy, most likely, let's give them the benefit of doubt that he was well aware that he's the winner. And if in actual sense he did not win, then he had been pre-coached that this is what you are going to say during this call, which is actually the version that I'm going to go with. The assumption that I'm going to go with is that this guy was coached. Here are my reasons. Let's dive further.
Sasa ni sauti yangu. Mimi ndio nakupigia.
What?
Sasa
nzuri sana mheshimiwa, acha kwa ile inapatikana.
Hata captain inatosha. Sasa unafanya job gani huko?
Listen to that. Unafanya job gani huku? Okay? So he said he's in Olkalao, he is working. Anaulizwa unafanya job gani?
Nafikiri hiyo biashara wewe ndio sasa utainunua.
Unafanya job gani huku? Nafikiri hii biashara ndio utanunua. Karauri, did you go ahead of the script? Well, anafanya kazi. How did you know anafanya kwa biashara? Na kwani haizi kuwa mwalimu? Haizi kuwa mkulima? Hiyo biashara, who said that just because unafanya kazi kwa biashara? Na kama anafanya kwa NGO ama anafanya kwa serikali? What actually made you presume that he is actually working for someone who is in business? For me, hapo kuna swali. Let's go further.
Sasa
wacha tusinunue.
Oh, remember he had also said that unafanya kazi wapi? Kwa sababu nafikiria hiyo biashara ni wewe utainunua. One, do you think that Karauri might have thought that maybe Bonnie forgot part of the script? That he was to say, nafanya kwa duka, niko kazi, nafanyia mtu biashara, blah, 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 blah. Where did this biashara thing? Specifically nataka analyze hiyo biashara. Nani alimwambia just because uko kazi, uko kwa biashara ya mtu? For me, there are more questions than answers. Aya, okay. Continue further. He says, sasa nadhani wewe ndio utanunua hiyo biashara. Karauri, hakukuambia kwa biashara in the first place. And why did he say that he wants to buy the business? Or why is it that anaona anunue hiyo biashara? Is it so profitable that it would attract Bonnie Karaoke to buy the business? Ama ni ile ya mlikuwa mnanitumia vibaya, sasa mimi ndio mwenye biashara, niko na hiyo pesa, niko na kiburi, I'm now the overall manager, mlikuwa mnanimistreat. You know that thing of siku nitapata do, bosi atanijua, kwanza nitanunua hii bizi yake nini blah 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 blah. Anyway, that's me overthinking, so I digress. Let's continue the call.
Juu ninakuwa na biashara yangu.
Okay, lakini sasa tutaketi tupange vile tutafanya kwa sababu sasa
okay, so Bonnie Karaoke anasema ako na biashara yake. Biashara gani hasa? Hatujui. Let's listen in further.
Niko na habari nyingine, hata unajua nimekungoja kupigia mtu hii simu nafikiri saa miaka 5. Sasa wewe ndio umeshinda mega jackpot bana.
It's been 5 years since the mega jackpot was won. 5 years since Ronald Karaoli called someone to congratulate them for winning the mega jackpot. Remember, the mega jackpot has 17 games, The normal jackpot, I think, inakuanga 13 games. I'm not definite about it, but I mean, iliacha kugambo kitambo sana. Okay, let's continue.
424 million 660,000 shillings.
Yes.
Unasikiaje? Kwani hauna furaha?
Sasa unajua kwa mwanaume ingekuwa yani nimeumbwa vitu tofauti sana. Mimi hivyo tu ndio naweza sema. Na vitu vingine ni God, hata wewe jua. Yani wacha tu tuseme ni God. Mimi ni tofauti sana.
Wewe uko na bahati sana. Ni kama
ni God. God.
Hata nikwambie.
Wow. Ni God. Boni Karaoke is not is asked, why are you not so excited? Mbona ufeel poa na umeshinda? Unacheza na 424 million wewe. Unakumbuka venye Rigiji alikuwa 200M yake imefriziwa. Ulikuwa unaona venye alikuwa aggressive. Then you have 424 million na maybe hata saizo ulikuanga na fuliza. Bana, why are you not excited? Maybe he wasn't following the script, right? Why are you not excited, man? You've won 424 million. He says, oh, bossy, I'm a different man.
Hata nikwambie, unajua hii tax.
Okay, now on this part, listen to the marketing gimmick. The catch here is now selling. Remember that Ronald Karaori is a businessman, so he's selling a product. So what does he have to offer? Let's listen in.
Ya kukata winnings. Hata umepata hii jackpot saa zile hiyo sheria imetolewa. So hii pesa yote inaingia kwa mfuko yako. Mimi nakupigia kuambia congratulations.
Thank you.
Pia mimi niko na hiyo furaha yako. Nilikuwa nangoja sana mtu hapa at least ashike hii jackpot. Imekaa sana.
Enyewe imekaa.
Na kwa hivyo congratulations sana from mimi na SportPesa team yetu si wote. Wajua saa maisha yako imebadilika kabisa.
Kabisa, ni ukweli.
So ukijipanga vizuri hii pesa itakaa kabisa hata kwa watoto wako. Si ndio?
Kabisa.
Sawa, congratulations kabisa.
Thank you so much.
Wow. To the newest millionaire in town. 424,660,618 shillings. Boni Karaoke. Wapi makofi yake? The newest millionaire in town. The newest millionaire in town. Wow. Now, when you analyze that call, is it really believable? Does it really make sense? Actually, listen to this part. He says that it's been 5 years since he last called someone to tell them that you've won the jackpot. And he actually goes further to say that he's been looking forward to making that call. Remember, for Boni Karaoke to make 424 million, it means that SportPesa have to lose 424 million. Well, how much do you think they've made from that mega jackpot? Let's calculate. Let's do, remember, Senator Crystal Asige, Crystal Asige and Okiya Omtatah were requesting for an empirical scientific research to this. Let's look at what is the actual probability of winning the mega jackpot. How many options are there? So with the jackpot, I believe there are usually 3 probabilities for each game. A win, a draw, or a loss. And there are 17 games. How many combinations are there and which is the winning combination? From mathematics, let's look at probability. I hope by now, if you're following this episode, by now you must be a really smart cookie. So you've heard of the probability. And I actually try to employ binomial expansion. So for you to, how many possible combinations do we have for you to win? Remember, per game, we have 3 possible outcomes: the win, the draw, and the loss. We have a total number of 17 games. So for us to see what are the total number of what are the possible combinations within this game. Remember, only one combination that can win you 17 out of 17. So we do 3 raised to power 17. 3 raised to power 17 is 129 million 140 129 million 140,163. My producer, I really hope you put this content. I'll snip it for you. So there are, in the mega jackpot, there are 129 million 140,163 possible outcome combinations. But however, we only have one that can win. We only have one combination that can win. So what are the chances that you get that one combination? That would mean that the chance of you making that bet slip that will win you the mega jackpot lottery is 1 in 129 million, which is actually extremely low, rough, and actually it's like winning the lottery. Well, some may argue that they start paying from 12 games. So, okay, let's look. If you get a payout, if you won maybe the minimum that you're supposed to actually predict for you to get just a something, they throw you, they throw like a bone to you. So if you are to win at least 12 combinations, how much are you, what is like the probability? Well, the probability of having 12 combinations, at least 12 combinations out of the 17 games, will give you, it's like 1/652, 0.153% that you will make 12 correct predictions. So how many people have lost money over the fire? Well, they've said that it's been 5 years since someone won the mega jackpot. So how much money do you think Sportpesa have made? If let's assume that 1,000 people, not even 1,000, I would go to a number like 5,000 people. Assuming 5,000 people bet on every weekend, 5,000 people, times, I don't know how much you're supposed to take for the mega jackpot. So I'll go with 100 shillings. So if 100 people, 5,000 people placed a bet on the mega jackpot, and the stake is by default 100 shillings, then we have 500,000 shillings. Okay, so let's assume that there's a mega jackpot over every weekend. So we are looking at 500,000 times 4 weeks, which will amount to 2 million. Now, these 500,000, these 2 million shillings, let's do 2 million in a year. 2 million shillings in a year. And remember, this one we are working on the minimum. 2 million shillings in a year, in a month. Let's see how much it translates to a year. In 1 year. How much will you have made times 12? How much should that give you? Just a minute. Calculator yangu inakataa kufanya kazi. But 24 should be 240 million if I'm not wrong. Yeah, it was actually easier to do it with my brain. Computer zilikuja kutufanya tukue lazy. So 240 million times 240M times 5 years. Times 5 years. How much do we have? Oh, infinity. There's a number here, 120. I think 120B. Yeah, 120 billion. So after 4 years, what is 424 million if you've made 120B over the first 5 years? Well, toa cost of production nini. So to do 20, let's do away with the 2 and truncate this number round off to the nearest 10. So equal 1B. So if you have 1B, what is 400 million? That shows you. So who's the real winner? Is it Bonnie or is it Sportpesa? Who's the real winner? Who actually lost? Well, the glamour comes, oh, he's won, nini. But why are we not talking about those people who've lost? Why are we not talking about the so many families that have been destroyed because of gambling? Why are we not talking about those people who've sold their land and lost their money to gambling? And mark you, we are just talking about the mega jackpot. We are not talking about any other jackpot. We've not talked about the ordinary games, sports betting. We've not talked about Aviator. So I really hope that you're seeing the math behind this, and you can try just to imagine the figures. Was this a marketing gimmick, or did he win? Did he wake up in a new Bugatti? Is it something that you are to look up to? And if you are to look up to, what is the probability that you would win that? Remember, he was really, really lucky. Bonnie Karaoke was so lucky that he actually placed a bet. And out of the 129,000 options, possible combinations, he was able to get that one. 1 in 129 million. That was the probability, and he guessed it correct. You who are gambling, you who is betting, what do you think are your chances that you might get that winning combination? Your chances are, for every ticket that you make, remember that your chances are 1 over 129 million. So that should tell you who is the real casualty here. But we don't like talking about casualties when it comes to betting, do we? It's not something that most people want to talk about, because when you talk about that, you're touching people's money. Unaguza murima. So for me, when I look at this, I actually don't want to believe that this jackpot was won. We know all these marketing gimmicks. We've seen scenarios where people win but actually are actually not paid, and something like that. So what will solve the problem of gambling in Kenya? I gave the behavioral psychology thought that you should actually receive a message. If you lose the bet, mega jackpot, and you are sorry, you lost the mega jackpot, please try again. Ujaribu tena next weekend, you receive another message, you lost the mega jackpot. Arsenal versus Man U this coming weekend, and God forbid, Arsenal loses and I had staked all my money on Arsenal. Then give me that text message, tell me, I'm sorry, Anthony, you thought that Arsenal would win? No, it came out as a draw. Or out of nowhere, Man U was able to win. So we are sorry, give it a try next time. I'm definite, mtu atakufa moyo. What are some of the recommendations that you would personally make against gambling? Gambling is something that is affecting our society. We can all look back and say that we know someone who's been affected by gambling, and those people will come saying that, oh, Ina's idea, it is a money-making venture, it makes money. Do you remember the numbers that we were looking at? When we started the episode, I quoted 776 billion being the amount of money that Kenyans spent on gambling per annum. Just imagine that money ingekuwa ina move in something different, somewhere different in the economy. What would happen? Gambling might be a necessary evil. It might be one of those industries that you say it's a necessary evil, blah, 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 blah. But we can have proper regulations where we actually reduce the amounts of betting. Personally, I even forgot to say that this policy that they passed is actually reducing the minimum amount that you can stake to 50 shillings. So ukitaka kubet, lazima ukuwekele at least 50 shillings. I think that should be raised to at least 1,000 shillings. Actually, if I was president, I would be mean enough to make it 5,000. Because kama you cannot afford to lose 5,000 shillings, then what business do you have gambling anyway? That's how you protect your people.